time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show brings you famous celebrities and amazing people from all over the world. Listen online at themikewagnershow.com and on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And watch the interview on YouTube. So sit back and relax and enjoy the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Evan Fine of the Senior Reserve Group. When you start thinking about retirement, who are you going to call about Medicare? Why call the best? Evan Fine of Senior Reserve Group specializes in Medicare, health, and long-term care insurance. Evan can be reached at 1-800-650-9357. That's 1-800-650-9357. Or email to evanfine@seniorreservegroup.com. Evan is licensed in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Delaware, South Carolina, and Florida. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. Also, check our Facebook page, Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can also download and listen on SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio, and also watch the interview on YouTube as well. We're here with a very fine gentleman from the California area. I mean, this guy just loves to do what he does, and the four-letter word just does not exist with this gentleman. He's a media entrepreneur, a musician, songwriter, producer. He plays a lot of instruments: saxophone, guitar, flute, oboe, keyboards, percussion, and he also sings as well, too, does everything but the kitchen sink. He's the CEO of many companies. He's been in a lot of startups. He played with Pink Floyd, Supertramp, Toto, Quincy Jones, and more. So, ladies and gentlemen, live from sunny California, and what he does is not work, but just enjoys what he does and loves to play and sing about it. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Page. Scott, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Wow, that was one of the most amazing intros I've ever had. Thank you very much, Mike.
Hey,
really appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. And next time maybe we get together, you can play a saxophone behind it too, and maybe sing along when I do something.
Yeah, so there you go. Let's do it. Next time we'll do a sax thing. I'll saxify inside. Yeah.
Sounds great. Okay. All right, you're a media entrepreneur. You've been a musician, songwriter, producer, CEO of many companies, and you're currently the CEO of Ignited Network, a start music accelerator based in Los Angeles. You play with Pink Floyd, Supertramp, Toto, Quincy Jones, and a lot of great people. And, of course, you play a saxophone, guitar, flute. You also sing and more. And you founded many, many companies. You founded Seventh Level. And you also have been involved with New Media Broadcasting. And you also have Get Your OPI. Before we get into all that, tell us how you got started.
Wow. Yeah, you read my Wikipedia. That's a good job.
It's called research, my friend. Research.
Yeah. Research. How did I get started? Oh, I grew up in a musical family. My father was a musician. He actually played on a show called The Lawrence Welk Show. Do you remember Lawrence Welk?
Yes, The Lawrence Welk Show. And I remember watching it with my grandparents up in Wisconsin, where I was born. And Lawrence Welk was born in Strasburg, North Dakota, which is about 100 miles going south into North Dakota and straddling the South Dakota border. I mean, he was just a legend over there, too. And if you ever get a chance to come to North Dakota, just check out the museum. And it's amazing what he does. And before you go in, you got to sing, and a one, and a two, and just enjoy a little champagne and bubbles and everything else. Yes. Yep. Terrific guy, though. So
yeah. So my dad was on that show for 14 years, and so I grew up on television when I was a kid, in the sense that my dad would go to the studio every day, and that was one of the early, I guess it was probably one of the first real variety shows that happened every week. Mm-hmm. And so I grew up in that space, although even at that time I was mostly as I started to grow up later on, I played trumpet. I picked up the trumpet. I was a trumpet player, but not very serious about it. I was more about learning to be an architect. I wanted to be an architect. I was into drawing and design and all that. So through those years, my dad said, hey, keep playing your instrument. At least, you can play a gig on the weekends. It's, it'll give you something to do, but, keep it up. So I kind of kept it up through the years, but mostly was really more interested in the architectural world. Then I met a couple guys by the name of Jeff Pocaro and David Page, who you may know, who started Toto.
That's right.
But we were kids. We had a band they had a band called Merciful Soul Band. And so we started that band when we were kids. And what I realized at that time is that I was the oldest guy in the band at that time. I was like, 17 or 18, I think it was. And,
oh my goodness.
And they were like 13, 14, but we were winning all the battles. Man, it was like we were killing it, right? It was kind of a blood, sweat, and tears Chicago-style band. And then I realized at that point I'd be going to I had this job because I was working for this company called Audiodyne part-time, and I was doing a lot of drawing. And I realized drinking coffee all day, sitting there drawing, wasn't the same as playing in front of a bunch of girls. So
right, exactly. It's like, hey, you want coffee,
babe?
Win.
So I switched my career and decided to become a musician full time. So I took my drafting skills and started doing music copying, because in those days you had to use your hands, to draw stuff by hand. And I had good skills because that's what I was doing. And I used that to sort of support myself while I learned to play. And so it was really, I got into it through my dad being around it in the music business, and then, joining with David Page and all those guys. And then, later on in my career, I got to play with Toto when I finally got good enough, because I was horrible then. I was the worst guy in the band back in the days, but I took it up and started studying like crazy. So that was my kind of beginning. I got into that and got very lucky, and I've been able to play with some of the biggest bands in the world now, and it's been an incredible ride on the music side.
It sounds like it too. You also play with Pink Floyd, Supertramp,
Yep.
and also Quincy Jones. You also play with Janet Jackson as well too. Garth Brooks, Bon Jovi,
actually,
lots of it. Yes.
Well, let me correct you there. Part of that conversation, some of those people, I didn't actually play with them. I played with, I was in Pink Floyd. I played with them for a long time, and Supertramp and Toto. With Quincy, I had a company with him called QD7. So we had a business together. And I actually was really interesting, as I was actually producing Quincy Jones, which was kind of interesting. We worked on a CD-ROM title called Music and Men. And that was going to be run under our QD7. My company was Seventh Level. His was Quincy and David Enterprises, QDE. And so we joined and created a joint venture called QD7. So I was more on the producing side with Quincy and working with him in that sense. And the other Garth Brooks and those, one of my companies was called Walt Tucker, which was named after my two heroes, Walt Disney and Preston Tucker, the car manufacturer. But that was an audio video post-production facility. And so I did a lot of producing of, those were music videos and long form videos, and that type of production was for, Garth Brooks and Janet Jackson and those people. So those were that was the thing there. I worked with them on production, not so much played with them in that time.
Okay, I apologize. I somehow got morphed into as well too. And of course, you had played with Pink Floyd. You've been on tour and everything else. So what was it like working with Pink Floyd? Especially being on albums as well too, and touring.
Yeah, I mean, Pink Floyd is an incredible brand, an incredible music project. I mean, it's amazing all these years. I mean, we were selling out that tour. They've been around for years, and it's still one of the biggest bands in the world. And it was fascinating because the power of that brand. And as a business guy, Dave Gilmour used to always ask me, because I figured we're going out on this tour. We're going to be out for 2 years. What am I going to do with myself? Well, I'm going to study. So I'd studied business because I knew I wanted to get into the business side of things kind of after the playing side. And he used to always he'd always see me reading these business books, In Search of Excellence, Tom Peters books, all these different books. And I tell him I'm going to go build me a business. So it was fascinating. I looked at Pink Floyd, not just from the fact of the music side, but just kind of the phenomena of the power of that brand worldwide and what made it so powerful and what was so unique about that brand. So playing with them was really incredible from a playing point of view. We did 199 shows on that one tour over a couple-year period. and it was a blast. But really, to see the mechanism of how you move that many people around, how that tour actually worked, the power of that brand, why that brand. So those are the things that, I mean, so for me, playing with Floyd was not only just the incredible thing of just standing up next to Dave Gilmour every night, and I learned a ton from him. I tell you, that guy is the master of melody. He taught me more about stop trying to play all those notes and play stuff people would know. So he completely changed my style. So from Floyd, it was a massive educational project for me. I learned music. I studied with Gilmour, the school of Dave Gilmour.
Oh my gosh.
The art of music. And then I studied business while the rest of the time and looked at how their business was operating. So I was constantly looking at, how the production was run, what they did, all that. So that was really, for me, just an incredible learning experience all the way around. So for Floyd, it was just incredible.
That is amazing too. And of course, being with Roger Waters and Nick Mason as well too. What were they like?
Well, that tour, I came on to the Floyd after Roger left.
Mm-hmm.
So I was on the Dave Gilmour camp with Nick and Dave and Rick. So I didn't do that early. I wasn't on the part when Roger was there, so I came in later. But Nick is, they're great. What's interesting is so many people, you look at these type of celebrities, they have these images of these guys, and they're just regular kind of guys, right? Which is just great. They're just normal kind of folks. And obviously working with Nick, and I loved Rick. Rick was a great guy, probably one of the kindest, gentlest souls I've ever met. And we just had a great time on there. It was very relaxed in that sense. And what I loved about Pink Floyd too was Dave was not trying to tell me what to do. He just point and say, play, make up your own stuff, be your own person, which I thought was fantastic. Cause I played with some other bands, and they want you to do things specific ways. And I love Floyd for the fact that they just let me have the freedom to just kind of, point to me and play whatever you want. You don't have to play what the other guys played or do anything specific. Just, add your 2 cents in. So I really love that.
So it sounds almost like, in a sense, it's almost like jazz, where it's more like a free form in a way, just mixing what they're doing. It's almost like forget the notes and just play as thing goes on. I think that's a great idea you got. So,
well, for me, it was, what was nice about it is, all I did was I basically soloed. I played rhythm guitar, and those obviously I had to play with the parts. But when it was my turn to solo, it was just, that's all I did was solo, and I could just make up my own solos and do whatever I want. So people ask me, what about Pink Floyd? Was it a hard gig? No, it was probably the easiest job I've ever had, because it was more of just be Scott Page and don't be worried about being anybody else. Wear your own clothes, basically. Mm-hmm. Which was great.
Yeah, that is a great philosophy, and we'll talk about your experience with Supertramp. But first of all, you listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com. Powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable, custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Evan Fine of the Senior Reserve Group. When you start a business or own a business for a while, who are you going to call for sole proprietorship insurance? Why not call the expert, Evan Fine of Senior Reserve Group? He also specializes in Medicare and long-term care insurance. Evan can be reached at 1-800-650-9357. That's 1-800-650-9357 or evanfine@seniorreservegroup.com. Licensed in 7 states in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Delaware, South Carolina, and Florida. Also, The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com. Also on Facebook at facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can also download and listen on SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio, and watch the interview on YouTube as well. We're here with saxophonist and play with Pink Floyd, Supertramp, Toto, and many other great acts. He's a musician, technologist, and entrepreneur, and currently serves as CEO of the Ignited Network. We have Scott Page from beautiful California. And let's talk about Supertramp for a little bit with Roger Hodgson and company. And you joined him in 1983, and you can tell us all about that.
Actually, 83, 85. That's right. 83 started with them. That was an incredible time. And what's very interesting about Supertramp, that was probably, it's like a giant family. So when we toured, the kids, everybody was out. And it was probably, the at that time in '83 was the biggest tour that I had played on before, and it was just just a joy. And John Helliwell, who is the original guy from the saxophone player and woodwind player in that band, is basically my guru. That guy